Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. Vermont is known around the world for the quality and purity of its culinary products. We have an international reputation for world-class cheese, beer, and maple. And our farms and specialty producers dish out delectable food using the freshest Vermont ingredients. And now we're literally going international. We already share significant history and heritage with our neighbors in Canada. With the help of UVM Extension, a new international tasting trail is coming to life, connecting 2 states, Vermont and New York, 2 provinces, Quebec and Ontario, and 2 countries, the United States and Canada. Across the Fence's Keith Silva tells us more.
Boston Post Dairy in Enosburg Falls is a tourist destination. Visitors come from all around to meet the goats and watch as their milk is turned into beauty products and award-winning cheeses.
Coming together around food and drink is one of the most important ways of sharing a culture.
Boston Post Dairy is one stop on the brand new Lake Champlain Tasting Trail. It's a network of over 50 farms, restaurants, farmers markets, breweries, and wineries in Addison, Chittenden, Franklin, and Grand Isle counties. The trail showcases some of the best agricultural and culinary experiences Vermont has to offer.
For people to come visit this part of the United States and Canada to experience the things we do so very well.
Officials from Vermont Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets, Vermont Department of Tourism and Marketing, and University of Vermont Extension are at Boston Post Dairy to boldly take this trail where no trail has gone before. International. Lisa Chase works for UVM Extension.
We're in the process of creating what we believe is the world's first international culinary trail, in that it spans multiple countries. We've got 2 states, 2 provinces, and 2 countries.
By uniting the Lake Champlain Tasting Trail with similar trails in New York and in the Canadian provinces of Quebec and Ontario, organizers hope to raise Vermont's profile and strengthen its reputation as a tourist destination.
Here in Vermont, we're very proud of the work that we've done to develop sustainable agriculture, local farms, and agritourism. And we have a lot to share with our neighbors in Canada and in New York, and we also can learn a lot from our neighbors. So being part of a collaborative effort like this, not only do we get to bring in more people from nearby states and a nearby country, we also get on a bigger stage. We're now part of an international draw. And while we still market Vermont independently, as come to Vermont, we have a little more marketing power when we're working together with Canada and New York, so we become more of a world-class destination.
A half-hour drive up Vermont Route 237 from Boston Post Dairy is another world, another country. This is Vignon La Haupière, which translates as Fields of Gold, a vineyard and winery in Dunham, Quebec.
Bonjour à vous et bienvenue à la
David Gillespie is a farmer from Quebec. His group, Canamex, which stands for Canadian American Exchange, is spearheading the effort to connect culinary trails in Canada with those in the States.
Nobody ever thought, geez, why don't we just link it all together and offer diversity and showing that. And my goal in Canamex, which is to promote sustainable agriculture, is diversity, and that's exactly what we're doing.
4 decades of experience as a farmer have taught Gillespie that farmers are their best advocates, especially at a time when more and more people are becoming disconnected with where their food comes from.
You've got farmers that are happy being at home, and that's perfectly fine. But if all the farmers did that, given that in Quebec and in Canada now, it's less than 2% of the population are farmers, versus the 1950s, which was in the 50%. Well, that 2%, if they all stayed at home and didn't reach out, there'd be such a disconnect between the 2 sides, and then a misunderstanding. You get policies that would be made by government without that understanding and its effect to the farmers, right? So you really need to reach out to them.
This spirit of connection, collaboration, and community is what drives Gillespie to give tourists more than only a taste of what this region has to offer.
I'm a farmer I'm not a technocrat or bureaucrat. I'm not a politician. And to come up with this idea of reaching out, on top of that, outside to a foreign country, a lot of people were scratching their heads, said, why? Why bother? If you want to excite people, and if you want to link cultures and really get that collaborative effort going, you need to do it that way. Otherwise, it's each one in their own backyard. No different from the farmer being in his own backyard than the region doing it in its own backyard. No different.
Back at Boston Post Dairy, Ann Doe shares Gillespie's excitement about working with Vermont's neighbor to the north.
We are so excited to be a part of this international trail. It's an amazing way to get people to know where you are and to visit your farm and to sample all your products.
With this kind of dedication from 2 provinces, 2 states, and 2 countries, it looks like this trail is off on the right foot.
I love cheese.
In Enosburg Falls, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
Thank you, Keith. Joining me now are 2 guests representing 2 entities that are a big part of the International Tasting Trail. I want to welcome Chuck Ross of UVM Extension and Abby Willard of the Agency of Agriculture, Foods, and Markets. Thank you both for coming in. Chuck, this whole idea started with a telephone call. Tell us the story.
Well, I had just signed up to be the director, and I got this phone call on my message machine that, and from my assistant, that this gentleman, David Gillespie, someone I had never heard from before, called and wanted to talk to me. So I returned his phone call, and about an hour and a half later, David Gillespie and I had arrived at the conclusion that this was an effort worth trying. And so I promised to him that I would reach out to my colleagues at UVM Extension and also my friends and colleagues at the state of Vermont and the Agency of Agriculture, and things got rolling from there.
And so that's how things got started. In the video we just saw, it was kind of a pilot project then?
Well, yeah, it's a pilot project that actually is connecting things that already exist in both sides of the border, as there are trails, but we're putting things together to create an international destination through the collaboration of farmers and culinary institutions on both sides of the border.
And so, Abby, how and why is the agency involved?
Well, we know that agritourism is an important growing industry for Vermont and for our agricultural economy. So we see the economic benefit for our producers to have their businesses and their products captured on a trail, and an opportunity to grow the number of customers that visit. We had a lot of the data through Vermont Fresh Network and is available on DigInVT, so it wasn't a huge stretch to pull together the Lake Champlain Tasting Trail. And we had other examples of trails that were already working well in Vermont. So visitors and Vermonters were coming to the state and doing brewery tours and wine and cider tasting and cheese trails. So it was a really logical collaboration to look to our neighbors to the north and to the west to really build that farm and ag food network.
And what kind of feedback have you received about this trail?
Well, what's interesting is farmers and businesses are so excited to share their information. They're really willing to be listed, to be included in the trail, and want to see new people come experience the really innovative and special products that they produce. So the industry is really excited to be included in the trail, and visitors seem interested in coming to Vermont and thinking of this larger region. We probably won't have actual metrics on how many visitors we've had to the International Trail or the Lake Champlain Tasting Trail until next summer, but it's looking great so far.
So what did each of you learn during this first pilot tour? Abby, why don't you start?
Sure. It was a great experiment in breaking down boundaries and really thinking about community at a larger scale. And when we went to Quebec and Ontario, they were so welcoming and warm to Vermont visitors, really excited to share their products and expose all of us to their unique state or their provinces. And what we learned was that they have some of the same rural community challenges that we have in Vermont. And yet we also have a lot to learn from them. They have a very different dairy pricing system. They have a lot of winemaking expertise. So a real opportunity to learn and share.
And how about for you, Chuck?
Well, what was really wonderful is we were welcomed with open arms by our Canadian friends. And the story and the proposal has been supported so well that we've actually sent 2 people, David Gillespie and Dr. Lisa Chase, to Italy to present our international destination to the first International Congress on Agritourism. So it's really been quite exciting, the support that we have on both sides of the border. border and with our friends in New York. We really think we got a chance to make this a place on the global map for people to do agritourism.
And this is becoming a very popular thing for folks to do. People really want to get out and meet farmers and see where the food comes from and find out the story behind the product.
Yeah, to me, I think it's about authenticity and connection. Vermont has such a reputation of quality products, and people come here because they trust the value and the quality and the integrity of what we produce. And to get people to come and see what's produced here and kind of experience it on the farm or in a restaurant or at a farm stand or in a store is a really, authentic experience.
I'm surprised to hear you say that the farmers and are excited about welcoming people, because there's some things that you really have to consider when you open up your business to the public.
That's true. It's not as just easy as saying everybody's welcome, which is one of the reasons and one of the ways Dr. Chase is involved. She works with farmers all over the state to help them understand how they need to get prepared, both as a business and as a host to guests, so that the experience is good and everybody can leave happily and with their connection, and ideally with some product in the visitor's car as they drive away.
Mm-hmm. And what's it like working with Quebec and Ontario?
I have to say, it has just been wonderful. They have been very interested, very engaging, willing to collaborate. Every step along the way, they have helped us understand what their interests are and share their interests with us so we can collaborate. The enthusiasm is rather contagious. Mm-hmm. And so we're quite excited to continue to coordinate with them and organize this set of existing trails into something that people will recognize all over the world.
Mm-hmm. And how about for you, Abby?
I really appreciated knowing that they were so open to thinking about what could relationships and partnerships look like across the border, and not being fearful of the competition, but actually seeing it as a growing network of businesses and ag producers that are looking to share with one another, learn about the skills and strengths that exist across the borders, and then collectively really make this an international destination to have more people choose to come to our expanded region.
Are there any issues with the border as far as making sure the trail is open both back and forth?
That's one of the things that the international group is working on.
Mm-hmm.
People from New York, Vermont, Ontario, and Quebec are going to be working on how to smooth some of those things out, how to educate people so they understand what they need to pay attention to, and also make sure that the hosts on both sides of the border are prepared. So it can be as fluid as possible. You do have to go through customs and you have to negotiate those issues. But at the end of the day, what an opportunity to be able to pop back and forth across the border between two countries and two states, two provinces, experience different cultures, different language, different culinary styles. It's really a fantastic opportunity.
And so how can a culinary-related business get involved in the International Trail?
Well, the best way is to either work with their producer association, if they're part of one in the States, mm-hmm. and then contact Vermont Fresh Network so that their business can be listed on the Dig-In VT site. And then diginvt.com is where the Lake Champlain Tasting Trail and other businesses can be listed.
Well, terrific. I want to thank you both for joining me today. It sounds like a lot of fun. For more information about the existing culinary trails in Vermont, you can check out the website on your screen. It's diginvt.com. That's diginvt.com. And that's our program for today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.